What's up, guys? Today I'm going to talk about racket lag. Is it a gimmick or is it something legit? Okay, so let's start off and see what racket lag is first. They say racket lag is when the racket, when you turn it aside and you go back, the racket's lagging behind and then coming through late. Now, they did a video on Rafa Nadal, just a musculoskeleton part of his body, right? And it's the skeleton of him hitting. Now, Nadal is one of the very few players that goes and then is very late and then flings that around. Most players don't do that. That's why Nadal is an exception, and there's only one guy who's ever hit like Nadal, which is Nadal. Okay. Now, for everyone else, wrist lag happens naturally if you know how the body mechanics work. Okay. If you're thinking butt cap to ball all the time to flip out the racket, well, guess what? When you swing, your racket's naturally going to flip out. I hope you don't have to think, all right, I got to go here, and then, oh, now I got more wrist lag. Now I'm going to fling it out. Doesn't make sense, right? So if you watch my other video, the Sampras video, Sampras graph, how the forehand really hasn't changed. Its body mechanics are still the same. So I'm going to refer back to that. All right. So whether it's the forehand or backhand, I'll do backhand, so it's a little bit different. But I drop it down. Now from here, what's going to happen, I'm using my legs. They're going to rotate, my hip opens, the racket comes, and then I finish. That's the lag. And on the forehand, the same thing. I turn it aside, right? They call it coiling. All right, now from here, it's the legs, it's the hips, it's the racket. There's a contact point, my hips open, and now I finish through. So now I kind of agree in a sense, if I get why coaches are trying to push towards the lag, I get it in a sense, okay? So, but here's the thing, because it's naturally coming through the body, you're going to get more lag. Here's the key, depending on what grip you use, okay? Because if you're in continental grip, naturally it's going to be a little bit flatter because, check this out, when I go back, I'm going to get in the camera here, when I go back and hit, I don't really want to pin this back because my racket face is already open, so the ball's going to fly. So if you're looking at McEnroe's and Connors, their wrist is a little bit more stiff. Now, the more towards, if we count the panels here, right, going around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's for righties. So it goes off where your index knuckle is, right? So here's my index knuckle. If I put my index knuckle on this one, it's a 1. But if I go over to, let's say, semi-western, which is a 4, watch what happens when I go back now. Here, I'm going to take my racket back, and just because of the grip, that's going to naturally pull it, all right? So the grip will make it go a little bit more and more back, and that's why the grips sort of help with the spin, but that's natural. If you have to think about that and you have to think about pulling your wrist back, that's the issue. Just use the grip that you have, turn it aside, and whatever you're probably doing right now, whatever you're naturally good at, if you're naturally a better flatter hitter, hit flat. If you're hit a little bit flatter, you're still going to have spin on the ball, right? If you're a spin player, keep doing what you're doing with that spin, all right? So don't try and change and try and be so exact. That's what you see with most club players. They're like, oh, my, they come back at lesson after lesson. And actually, I don't do a lot of lessons with these players because they know with me that I talk about mostly timing, footwork, spacing, all that stuff. Not a big fan of whatever technique you have, your body does well. So I don't have a lot of these guys, but usually it's all the out-of-town players that don't work with me consistently. And every time they come back, they're like, yeah, it's just, my stroke just doesn't feel right. There's something wrong here. And I don't really change the technique of it. And maybe I have them drop the racket a little bit more, go more low to high if they're not in a low to high swing. It's mostly just teaching them about timing and just letting the body naturally do it instead of trying to look for all these little gimmicks that I call them. So racket lag, is it a thing? Kinda. Happens naturally, but the grips do affect it a bit if you want a little bit more racket lag. But hey, whatever you're doing, do what you're doing, what you've done for years. You've hit millions of balls that way. Why change it now? It's gotten you through it. I guarantee you that's what's not losing you the matches. It's probably something else. All right. Till next time, guys.